Hi, Ojai Valley. I am the executive director of CFROG. My name is Marie Lankin, and I'm really pleased to be out here. CFROG was born and raised in the Ojai Valley, kind of around Carol Hawley's kitchen table. And it started because a group of folks out here looked at some of these oil and gas projects that were being approved around their doorsteps and decided that they needed to do something to slow them down. And CFROG has worked very, very hard to do just that. In the last 2 months, we've stopped some projects out in Ojai and out in Oxnard, 2 or 3 projects out in Oxnard. And we really, really want your air clean out here. And that is one of the biggest things we do, because I think you're probably all aware you have a unique air quality situation out here. And it's, the component of smog is ozone. And how is ozone formed? From reactive organic compounds and from nitrogen oxides. And so we are working whenever there's a new permit out here in the Ojai Valley or nearby to make sure that those new projects do not emit any more than they are supposed to. So you're under what we call a 5-pound limit. Now I come to CFROG, I just started this in April, and I gotta tell you, I had a long career. Ray was talking a little bit about it in the state legislature. I worked for Assemblymember Pedro Nava, who worked on oil and gas issues, and then I worked for the great Senator Fran Pavley, who is the mother of California's climate laws. And I worked on the Global Warming Solutions Act, SB 32, and then I went on to work on the fracking bill and many other things. So I want to tell you, this valley is our birthplace. We are very, very worried about how the warming of the planet can affect your smog levels here. So that is what CFROG is doing, is making sure that the county adheres to the 5-pound limit when these projects come up, and we're working very hard to do that. I'm going to let James talk now, too.
Thank you, Marie.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Good afternoon, Ojai Valley. There's nothing more special to me than working to protect the Ojai Valley. My ancestors came to the Ojai Valley in the mid-1840s, settled in lands that are now part of Lake Casitas, a large ranching operation. And there's great joy I find when I do a lot of hiking in the valley, up on areas like Superior Ridge and Nordhoff Ridge above the lake in the Los Padres National Forest. And then I put on my suit, fly in a jet plane to the Reagan International Airport in Washington, D.C., and grab my ride over to the Interior Department building on Avenue I in downtown Washington. And there's nothing more eerie to me when I sit down in a large $300,000 mahogany walled office with the United States Secretary of the Interior and his executive staff. And by the way, there's a stuffed polar bear in the corner of the room looking at us. And we talk about dismantling America's great national public lands, uranium mining on the north rim of the Grand Canyon, coal mining in Bryce Canyon National Park of Utah. The list goes on, but my ears really poke up when we talk about activities within the Los Padres National Forest, which surrounds, of course, the Ojai Valley, the Hopper Mountain National Wildlife Refuge just 15 miles east of here, which protects the endangered California condor, and large future offshore oil operations in the waters of the Santa Barbara Channel. The Ojai Valley has worked very, very hard to protect itself over the decades, stopping Petrochem, the Weldon Canyon, the gypsum mine at Pine Mountain, and the uranium mine above the Lake Casitas watershed. But folks, there's a dark cloud coming at us like we've never seen before. Currently, the administration is working on leasing fracking operations in Federal Bureau land management lands next to the Sespe Condor Sanctuary.
Behind Ojai.
Behind Ojai.
Yes. Behind
Also,
the Thatcher School. Yeah.
The uranium mine that many of us worked on in the 1970s on Superior Ridge north of Lake Casitas in the Los Padres National Forest that we thought was protected through a congressional act. The current president has ordered a national inventory on all uranium known deposits on national public lands in the western United States that includes the Los Padres National Forest. And if and when that study is done by the Secretary of the Interior, the Secretary will write a resolution for the President to order all lands available for mining for national security purposes, overriding the acts of Congress in areas like the Los Padres National Forest and other areas. And the Ojai Valley, which is Mayor Johnny mentioned, the second worst air quality area in the county because of the prevailing inland winds off of the waters of the Santa Barbara Channel that currently carry the pollution of 15 offshore oil rigs in the Santa Barbara Channel of Ventura and Santa Barbara. The administration next year will unleash a plan to propose to lease all of the unleased tracks in the Santa Barbara Channel. That is around 70 tracks. Can you imagine the offshore emissions for that number of tracks as the wind blows up the Ventura River Valley and settles into the Ojai Valley? But we have a major weapon to stop all of that. It's one word. It's you. Every single one of you. You have meant the causes in the past, you have meant them today, and I know you will be there with us to meet the fight in the future to protect the Ojai Valley.
I think, too, we have a fight going on here in the county as well. And when you look at all the projects they're now approving out there, it's pretty significant contributor to, emissions out here. So when we have a project that's coming up in the county, we can really use your support. Now, right now, we're working on what we call antiquated CUPs, which is basically what the county's been doing for a while. Is we've got some oil and gas permits that are out there that came out before CEQA, before any environmental laws in the 40s and the 60s. And these oil companies are allowed to continue unbothered. It's like a rubber stamp on these permits. And these are things that contribute to your air quality here in the Ojai Valley. And so recently, CFROG had a great success at the Board of Supervisors. And when we ask, we send these email blasts out. When we ask you guys to email and call your supervisors, we really mean it. Because right now, we've got a vote coming up, and I do believe we will be overturning this particular law. And we're pretty pleased about that. We've been working on this one since 2012. But this means that for once, all new oil and gas permits will come under environmental scrutiny. And it's just a sea change. And it's something we've worked really, really hard, and like I talked about the projects in Oxnard, did you guys know we have tar sands out in Oxnard? Yeah, so we've got a moratorium on that CFROG fought for. And, he was listing the Bureau of Land Management lands, and those are right here. There's a small little tract behind the Ojai Valley Inn. And if you look, there's back behind the Thatcher School, there's more. So we had this fun idea that maybe we could just get the money together and lease one of those tracts. And leave it blank, yeah, right? Why not? But there is a bill in the state legislature just recently passed. I think Hannah-Beth Jackson was a co-author, and basically it keeps the Trump administration from doing these things in federally protected lands. But I don't know that Newsom has signed it yet. So
no, sadly, it's Senate Bill 1. Senate Bill 1 passed the state legislature, is now on Governor Newsom's desk. Senate Bill 1 would embed into California law every single environmental protection regulation done by the federal government up until the day President Trump took office. The governor has announced last week publicly he will veto that bill.
Well, this is another bill I'm talking about. It's okay. There's two bills.
Oh, okay.
One was Murasachi and Jackson. Yeah, and then the other one is SB 1. That's the other stuff, yeah. Yeah, no, we got to watch Newsom. We're not sure about him yet.
Newsom signed a bill myself and sponsors put together to ban the trapping of bobcats in California, the first state in the nation to do so. He also signed our bill to ban fur trapping of all native California mammals in California.
Oh, sure,
yes,
go ahead.
Sousa. Councilwoman Sousa.
Yeah. I know, I thought maybe it was getting a little technically. Okay, so when you propose a new project out in this county that is potentially going to pollute the air, most of the county is under a 25-pound limit, and that is for what we call rock and NOx. So those are reactive organic compounds, and then that's nitrogen oxides. There's the two components of smog, which create the ozone. And as I talked about, Ojai has a unique ozone, and he talked about a problem too, because the way it blows in here and it's trapped. So you guys are really in danger. Once the climate starts heating you up even further, that's more smog for you. So we need to stay in that 5-pound limit. You are unique. You have your own carve out for air quality with Air Pollution Control District, and that is something we have fought very, very hard for. CFROG is working for the city of Ojai on just this issue, making sure that your 5-pound limit is preserved in our general plan, is preserved out there, that CEQA follows the right CEQA rules, and when they look at these projects, they not only include your 5-pound limit and everything that all the new emitting that is going to go on, but also what is already there. They have to encompass everything. That is the law. And the county has not been doing this historically. And I talked about something we won up here. That was exactly that. CFROG won a lawsuit to make sure that the county follows CEQA and all those emissions are counted, and that is protecting you.
Is this measured daily?
The air.
How do they measure this 5 pound?
They have different ways that when they're looking at approving a project, they go out and they estimate the emissions that it will produce. Now, right now, we're looking at the petrochem project down the way there. So that has been a little bit of a nightmare, as we all know. So what are they proposing now? An auto yard and a contractor yard and all those emissions floating out towards you. And so we're really worried about that one, too. We'd like a better use. That whole area has got a little carve out because it's industrial, and there's oil and gas pump jacks everywhere. There's all kinds of other polluting things, and that all floats out here. Yeah.
You know, and watch out too for Rancho Canada Larga is up for sale. And if you're a developer and have $70 million, you can buy it. We stopped the Weldon Canyon dump there decades ago. You know, there's so many wonderful environmental organizations in the valley. It's so inspiring. And one of the great things is Patty Pangling of Transition to Organics has put together a group of us who are working on a town hall meeting, which you may have been seeing flyers around town, next Saturday at Int'l Hall Junior High's auditorium on the transition from dangerous pesticides in the valley to natural, sustainable, organic farming. We'll have a great panel of experts talking about that. We hope you can all come, 3 to 6, Int'l Hall Auditorium on the 28th of this month.
And please sign up for our email list for CFROG. So it's www.cfrog.org. And I don't send you a lot of email, but when I do, it's because I need your help with things. So yeah, contact your supervisors. And your city council is so completely awesome. We don't have to do anything with them. But the supervisors and, upcoming new supervisors trouble me.
Yeah. And we have a very important election next year. The first district supervisor who represents the Ojai Valley in Ventura as well is termed out, Steve Bennett, who's been our friend on the environment, including things like SOAR, et cetera. The seat's wide open. The only currently announced major candidate is the current mayor of the city of Ventura. So hopefully we'll have a strong environmental candidate running, because the coast of Ventura and the Ojai Valley cannot afford to be without one, a voice on the Ventura County Board of Supervisors. So next year is a real important year. If you haven't registered, the California primary is March the 3rd during presidential elections. So register, get your friends and neighbors to register, and vote. And sit down and meet with your elected officials, whether it's a city council, board of supervisors, your state legislature, and your federal representatives in the House of Representatives and United States Senate. Your voice matters, and I can tell you that from experience.
And that's true. When the supervisors vote, they look very carefully at the people who have contacted them and how they're leaning on all these issues. And that always weighs. And also with your state legislators and your federal legislators, make the time to make a phone call to those offices. Some of those email forms that you send aren't as effective as a phone call. You're actually talking to somebody in that office, and that registers with them. And it's so important to do that, because I can tell you the people on the other side of what I work on, they are well-funded. They put up ads out there. You'll see their online ads right now. So we need your help right now.
and call Governor Newsom's office tomorrow and ask him not to veto SB 1. We want every single federal environmental law that was in place before President Trump took office to be embedded into the California Constitution as SB 1 would do, though the governor has indicated publicly he will veto that bill. There's still hope.